The world seemed peaceful, as it often did in these quiet moments before the storm. The sun rose over Earth's cities, casting its warm glow on a planet completely unaware of the danger looming just beyond its atmosphere. For centuries, humanity had peacefully advanced in technology, science, and society, never expecting to be challenged by forces beyond their own understanding. But the calm was deceptive. There was a storm approaching, one unlike any other Earth had faced before. The Galactic Union, a vast alliance of advanced alien civilizations, had been watching humanity for some time. To them, Earth was just another insignificant planet, unimportant, primitive, and weak. Their scouts had long dismissed humanity as no threat, and the Union was confident in its superiority. With their enormous fleets, artificial intelligence, and powerful weapons, they believed they could easily conquer any race they desired. And Earth, with its comparatively primitive technology, was not seen as worthy of much attention. Humanity was nothing more than a footnote in the grand plan of the galaxy's elite. Yet, unbeknownst to these powerful aliens, Earth's fate was not to be decided by advanced technology or superhuman forces. It would be decided by something much more unexpected, something that, despite all their technological superiority, the aliens had never anticipated. The simple ingenuity of humankind. At a remote military base in the mountains of North America, Captain Bonner sat at a control station, his face bathed in the dim light of various surveillance screens. He was part of a top-secret defense team, tasked with monitoring any unusual activity in Earth's atmosphere. Bonner was a soldier, not a scientist, but his instincts had always served him well in moments of danger. His team had been assigned to monitor the first alien ship entering Earth's orbit. The presence of this ship was the first real indication that something serious was happening. The Earth had long been warned by distant signals of extraterrestrial life, but now it was real, and it was just outside. Bonner and his team had been prepared for this moment for years, training on how to respond to an alien threat, running drills with some of the best technologies Earth had to offer. Yet, as the alien ship finally breached Earth's atmosphere, something in Bonner's gut told him that no amount of preparation would make them ready for what was coming. They watched as the alien ship appeared on their radar, descending from the vastness of space. It was massive, easily the size of a small city, and it moved with unnatural precision. As the ship got closer to Earth, Bonner and his team kept their eyes fixed on the screens, tracking its every movement. The ship was unlike anything they had seen before, with sleek lines and glowing energy shields surrounding it. This was no ordinary craft. It was a show of alien technological power. But just as they thought they had the situation under control, something strange happened. A sudden flicker, a brief glitch on their screens. Bonner frowned as the radar signal from the alien ship disappeared entirely. He leaned forward, tapping the console in front of him. What happened? He muttered under his breath. His team scrambled to rescan, checking all frequencies, all available detection methods. There was nothing. The ship had simply vanished. It had become invisible, not in the traditional sense, but in a way that defied all human technology. This was no ordinary cloaking device. It was a technology far beyond anything Earth had ever encountered. The ship wasn't just hiding from human sensors. It was manipulating space itself, hiding in plain sight. The room was filled with tension. Captain Bonner's jaw tightened as he took in the enormity of what was happening. "It's cloaked," he said slowly. His voice had a sharp edge to it, as if he were trying to convince himself more than anyone else. The team fell silent, processing what had just occurred. For the first time, the reality of the situation hit Bonner with full force. This wasn't some minor alien encounter. This was a race so advanced that they could manipulate space, make ships vanish from radar, and most frightening of all, they seemed to be playing a game with humanity. The first contact had begun, but it was not the peaceful exchange everyone had hoped for. It was an invasion, and humanity was woefully unprepared. As the team worked furiously to recalibrate their instruments, Bonner's thoughts drifted. He wasn't always a captain. He had started as just another soldier, a regular man from a humble background. Like many, he had once believed that Earth's true strength lay in its technology. But as he rose through the ranks, he realized something far more important. It wasn't technology that made humans strong. It was their ability to improvise, adapt, and think outside the box. That was humanity's secret weapon. But in this moment, faced with an invisible, seemingly invincible alien ship, Bonner wondered if even that would be enough. He couldn't let doubt cloud his mind. Earth's future depended on him and his team now. The fight would be their fight. He had to believe that humans had something to offer that these aliens couldn't anticipate. But that would be a tough battle. Earth's enemies were technologically superior, and humanity had no idea what to expect. The only thing Bonner could count on was human resilience, the very thing the aliens had underestimated. The image of the cloaked alien ship still lingered in Bonner's mind. The ship hovered silently above Earth, hidden by advanced technology. But in the back of his mind, he kept asking one question: what happens next? The thought gnawed at him, and his heart raced as he tried to focus on the task at hand. They couldn't allow the aliens to strike first. Humanity had to be ready. Outside, the sky seemed impossibly still. The stars twinkled in their distant positions, and for a brief moment, Earth seemed as it always had been, peaceful, unknowing, and unaware. But the moment was fleeting. Bonner knew that Earth's innocence was about to be shattered forever. As he looked out the window of the command center, Bonner saw the first signs of the coming storm. The lights of the base flickered for a second before the emergency alarms blared. Something was happening outside. A sudden wave of panic rippled through the team. Bonner turned to his officers. "Get ready. Whatever's coming, we have to be prepared." His mind raced as the seconds seemed to stretch into eternity. He couldn't shake the feeling that humanity had just entered a new phase of its existence. No longer would Earth be a peaceful, undiscovered world. The aliens had seen humanity. They had come to Earth, and the game was about to begin. Captain Bonner took a deep breath, steeling himself for the unknown. He was no longer just a soldier. He was humanity's first line of defense, and as the countdown began, he knew one thing for sure: Earth's survival would depend on its people, on their creativity, their drive, and their willingness to fight, no matter the odds. The camera panned slowly across the darkened sky, the invisible ship now a mere shadow among the stars. Bonner's heart thudded in his chest as the first sign of a new era began. A new age of humanity was dawning, and it would begin not with superior technology or weapons, but with something far more powerful: the will to survive. The alien invasion was about to begin, and Earth was ready. At least, Captain Bonner hoped so. The countdown had started, and the storm was coming fast. The first strike came without any warning. One moment, Earth was a world still reeling from the sudden realization of an alien presence. The next, it was a battlefield. The peaceful sky above major cities across the globe was shattered by the terrifying sight of alien warships. With no time for preparation, the people of Earth saw destruction rain down from above as the Galactic Union launched its full-scale attack. The aliens didn't waste time with diplomacy or warnings. They came with fire and fury. The aliens' first move was a devastating orbital bombardment. Massive beams of energy rained down from the alien ships, tearing apart entire cities in seconds. Towers crumbled, explosions rippled through the streets, and the ground shook violently beneath the feet of those who still remained alive. Humanity had never faced anything like this. Their cities, their homes, their civilizations, reduced to rubble in a matter of moments. The suddenness of the assault was overwhelming. Thousands of lives were lost before the people even knew what was happening. The world, once so vibrant and full of hope, was now a place of chaos, as alien ships blotted out the sun and sent devastation to every corner of the planet. In the midst of this destruction, Captain Bonner and his team were thrown into the heart of the conflict. Bonner had trained for moments like this, But nothing could prepare him for the reality of war. There was no time to waste. The enemy was here, and they were intent on wiping humanity off the face of the earth. It wasn't just an invasion, it was a massacre. And the aliens had assumed that humanity would crumble under their superior technology. But Bonner wasn't going to let that happen. As the alien ships hovered above the remains of the cities, firing relentlessly, Bonner led his team of soldiers into a desperate fight to defend one of the last remaining strongholds. The city had been partially destroyed, but it still held enough strategic value that humanity couldn't afford to lose it. The streets were littered with debris, and the echoes of distant explosions filled the air. The soldiers, now far outnumbered, and with their weapons outclassed by the aliens' high-tech weaponry, took cover in the ruins, trying to hold their ground. Despite the odds, Bonner refused to let the team give up. "We fight. We don't stop fighting," he shouted over the sounds of artillery and chaos. There was no other option. Retreating wasn't a choice. The city was their last chance, their last foothold in the war. Outnumbered and outgunned, Bonner and his team had no choice but to improvise. They couldn't match the aliens' weapons head-to-head, but they could use Earth's natural environment to their advantage. Bonner's eyes scanned the battlefield, searching for anything that could turn the tide. That's when he saw it, a tractor abandoned by its driver. It was an odd sight in the middle of a war zone, but it was exactly what they needed. Without hesitation, Bonner jumped into the seat of the tractor, urging his team to follow suit. They quickly repurposed the vehicle into a makeshift shield, using the heavy machine to protect themselves from incoming alien fire. As the tractor rumbled forward, Bonner guided it toward a group of alien drones hovering nearby. The tractor was slow and clunky, but it had one key advantage: the element of surprise. The alien drones, focused on targeting human soldiers with advanced weaponry, didn't anticipate being faced with a simple Earth machine as a weapon. Bonner gunned the engine, ramming the tractor straight into one of the drones. The impact caused a massive explosion, sending debris flying in all directions. The alien drones, momentarily stunned, lost their coordination. Bonner's team, armed with simple firearms and whatever tools they could scrounge, quickly followed up on the opportunity. They began firing on the disoriented drones, picking off one after another. The tractor, once a humble farming tool, had become their weapon of war. As the humans continued to fight, their resourcefulness began to show. They had no advanced technology to match the aliens, but they had something far more valuable: their creativity. With each passing moment, the humans began to turn the tide. The aliens, who had once believed that humans were nothing more than primitive, unimportant creatures, started to realize they were facing something they hadn't anticipated. The ingenuity of the human race, its ability to adapt and use anything at hand as a weapon, was beginning to make the aliens nervous. But the battle was far from over. Despite their initial successes, Bonner and his team were still in danger. The alien forces were relentless, and their technology was far more advanced than anything Earth had at its disposal. It was only a matter of time before the aliens adapted to the human tactics, countering the primitive weapons with their own superior firepower. But for now, humanity had a foothold, and Bonner wasn't about to give it up. In the heat of the battle, Bonner's thoughts were constantly on his team, especially Sergeant Davis, his best friend and fellow soldier. Davis had been with him since the beginning of his career. The two had trained together, fought side by side, and shared a bond stronger than that of most comrades. But in the chaos of the battle, Davis was struck by a blast from one of the alien drones. Bonner watched in horror as his friend was thrown to the ground, critically injured. His breath caught in his throat as he ran to Davis's side, cradling his best friend in his arms. "Don't leave me, Davis," Bonner whispered desperately, his voice choking with emotion. Davis's eyes fluttered weakly, his blood mixing with the dirt beneath him. He managed a faint smile, weakly squeezing Bonner's hand. "Make them pay," Davis whispered, his voice barely audible. Then, with one last breath, Davis was gone. The pain of losing his closest friend in such a brutal way filled Bonner with a deep rage. His mind burned with the memory of Davis's last words. "Make them pay." Bonner's grip tightened around his weapon as a wave of determination surged through him. He wasn't just fighting for survival anymore. He was fighting for revenge. For Davis. For every life lost in this senseless war. As Bonner stood over his fallen comrade, the battlefield around him seemed to fall silent for a moment. The world felt suspended in time, as if the weight of what had just happened pressed on his shoulders. But Bonner wasn't going to let grief cloud his judgment. He had a mission to complete. Davis's sacrifice would not be in vain. With a renewed sense of purpose, Bonner turned back to the fight. The alien drones were regrouping. But this time, the humans weren't retreating. They weren't running. They were fighting back with everything they had. Bonner led his team through the streets, directing them with newfound fury as they improvised even more weapons. They were using whatever they could find. Pieces of debris, abandoned vehicles, anything they could use to fight back. As the sun set over the war-torn city, Bonner knew this was only the beginning. The first strike was over, but the war had just begun. And humanity, despite being outclassed, outnumbered, and underestimated, was going to make sure the aliens knew one thing: Earth was not going down without a fight. The alien forces may have thought they had the upper hand, but Bonner knew better. The aliens had underestimated humanity's greatest weapon, their will to survive. And that was something no amount of advanced technology could ever defeat. As the last rays of the sun faded into the darkness, Bonner made a vow: no matter what it took, humanity would fight. They would adapt. They would survive. And they would win. The tide of the war had shifted. What began as a brutal and overwhelming attack by the alien forces was now a contest of wills. As the aliens had predicted, humans were desperate. But what the aliens hadn't counted on was the creative spark of humanity, a resource that, once ignited, would prove to be a formidable weapon. The people of Earth, battered and bruised by the invasion, had begun to rally. They had no advanced weapons, no massive fleets to match the alien invaders, but they had something far more dangerous: their ingenuity. The first sign of hope came when the world's brightest minds came together. Scientists, engineers, and tech experts from all corners of the globe, working day and night in secret military bunkers, put their knowledge and skills to the test. They were tasked with creating a weapon system that could level the playing field. But this was no ordinary weapon. No longer would Earth's military rely on conventional technology. They needed something more, something that would use what Earth already had at its disposal. The result was a system that could turn any object, no matter how simple, into a weapon of mass destruction. This system could analyze everyday items and transform them into deadly combat tools. From tools that could launch missiles to objects that could be turned into energy weapons, this technology had the potential to change the course of the war. Bonner was there when it all came online for the first time. It was a moment that would define the future of humanity's resistance. Deep underground in a heavily secured military bunker, Bonner stood alongside the scientists and engineers as they initiated the system. The air was thick with tension. Everyone knew that if this system worked, it could be humanity's greatest weapon. But if it failed, the alien forces would crush them in no time. "Activating now," one of the engineers said, his voice steady despite the weight of the moment. The countdown was swift. And then the screen in front of them flickered. The AI system had come to life. It hummed softly as it began scanning the room. The walls were lined with crates, tools, and objects gathered from around the world, each waiting to be converted into a weapon. The system quickly analyzed each item, processing them with terrifying speed. A screen flashed green, and a simple nail gun on the table began to change. With a soft, whirring sound, it transformed into a high-powered energy weapon capable of firing blasts strong enough to puncture alien armor. Next, a vending machine sitting in the corner was analyzed and converted into a projectile launcher capable of firing explosive rounds at the enemy. The system wasn't just making weapons, it was creating possibilities. It was taking what humans already knew how to use and turning it into something far deadlier. Bonner's eyes widened as he saw a humble broom, resting innocently in the corner, change into a high-energy plasma rifle in seconds. It was hard to believe. Something as mundane as a broom, used to sweep dust just hours ago, now had the power to level an alien drone with a single shot. The transformation was both exhilarating and horrifying. These were ordinary objects turned into instruments of war. Humanity's everyday tools, once dismissed as useless in the face of advanced alien technology, had now become lethal weapons capable of fighting back. "This is it," Bonner muttered, his voice barely audible. The war had just changed. As the system continued to churn out more and more weapons, the human soldiers began to gather around, their faces filled with a mix of awe and determination. They had fought with their bare hands, with whatever they could find in the ruins of their cities. But now they had the power to fight back. They were no longer fighting with improvised tools. They had real weapons, powerful, effective weapons capable of bringing down the aliens. The first small victory came quickly. Bonner's team, armed with these new weapons, launched a surprise attack against a group of alien drones that had been patrolling the ruins of a city. The drones were high-tech and powerful, but they were no match for humanity's new arsenal. A soldier, armed with a modified fire extinguisher turned flamethrower, launched a blast of fire that sent one of the drones crashing to the ground. Another soldier, using a repurposed satellite dish, turned into a powerful energy cannon, blasted through a group of alien walkers. The tide was beginning to turn. The aliens who had once seen humanity as weak and primitive were now facing an unexpected challenge. They had underestimated the power of human innovation. For Bonner, each victory was bittersweet. Every time a new weapon was used, it felt like a small triumph over the alien invaders. But each success also reminded him of the loss he had suffered. Sergeant Davis, his best friend, gone forever. It was a constant ache in his chest, but it fueled his determination. He would avenge Davis. He would lead humanity to victory, no matter what it took. The world was watching. The battles raged on, and the fight for Earth intensified. As the humans continued to unleash their newfound weapons, the alien forces began to grow more cautious. Their once overwhelming confidence had started to falter. They had expected Earth to fall quickly, but now they were facing an enemy they couldn't predict. The aliens had advanced technology, but the humans had something far more dangerous: their creativity. The humans could adapt, think on their feet, and turn even the most mundane item into a weapon. And that, the aliens soon realized, was a power they could never defeat. The world's leaders watched as the resistance grew stronger. The underground military bunkers were filled with new weapons, and soldiers, once poorly armed, were now ready to take on the invaders. The world began to see a shift in momentum. Earth, once the underdog, was starting to push back. The aliens had expected a quick, one-sided victory, but they were now facing a global uprising that they hadn't anticipated. Bonner, now a symbol of humanity's resistance, stood at the forefront of this fight. His team had become a powerful force, using the weapons they had once thought impossible. With each new battle, they won more ground. The aliens, caught off guard by the human ingenuity, began to lose their grip on Earth. Slowly but surely, humanity was starting to win. The system that had been created to turn everyday objects into weapons had done the impossible. It had given Earth a fighting chance. With every passing day, humanity proved to the aliens that they were not weak. They were not helpless. They were not primitive. They were survivors. And they would do whatever it took to protect their home. As Bonner looked out over the battlefield, he knew the war was far from over. There would be more battles, more sacrifices. But with humanity's creativity unleashed, they had a chance. And in this war, creativity was the most powerful weapon of all. The aliens had come to conquer, but humanity had come to fight back with everything they had. The last hope for humanity rested on the shoulders of Captain Bonner and his team. The Galactic Union had underestimated Earth, dismissing it as a weak and unimportant planet in the vast expanse of the galaxy. But they had made a grave mistake. Humanity had proven its resilience. The once helpless humans, armed with nothing more than their creativity and ingenuity, had pushed back against the alien invasion. However, the Galactic Union was not ready to admit defeat. Realizing that they were facing an unexpected resistance, the Union decided to send its most advanced fleet, controlled entirely by artificial intelligence, for a final showdown. The alien AI fleet was an overwhelming sight. Massive warships glided through space, their sleek, metallic surfaces gleaming in the sunlight. They were equipped with technology that far surpassed anything humanity had. The ships were cloaked, invisible to the human radar systems, and their weaponry was devastatingly advanced. But the aliens, too, underestimated one thing: humanity's ability to adapt, fight, and improvise in the face of impossible odds. The final battle began when the fleet entered Earth's atmosphere. The sky darkened as the ships loomed overhead, and the Earth trembled under the weight of their presence. Bonner and his squad were already in position, ready for the fight of their lives. They knew they were outmatched, but they were determined to give everything they had to protect their planet. As the alien ships descended, Bonner's team launched into action. They piloted Earth's most advanced fighter jets, modified with alien technology scavenged from previous battles. But these jets were nothing like the massive alien warships. The humans were outnumbered and outgunned, but they weren't backing down. The air was thick with tension as Bonner's team engaged the AI-controlled ships in a high-speed chase through Earth's atmosphere. The camera followed their every move, capturing the chaos as fighter jets zipped past, narrowly avoiding the alien weapons aimed at them. The sky was filled with flashes of light as orbital bombardments rained down from the alien fleet, each blast shaking the ground below. Bonner's squad dodged and weaved through the explosions, using their advanced knowledge of Earth's terrain to their advantage. The camera zoomed in on Bonner's face as he gave quick orders, his eyes focused and determined. He knew this was the fight that would determine Earth's future. The humans had fought with everyday objects turned into weapons, and now they were using those same creative tactics against the most advanced AI-controlled fleet the galaxy had ever seen. One by one, Bonner's team engaged the alien ships, each soldier using whatever they could to turn the tide. One of the squad members used a repurposed satellite dish, now a high-powered laser cannon, to strike down an alien drone. Another soldier, piloting a modified truck, launched an explosive charge made from an old refrigerator, using the blast to knock out one of the alien warships. With each battle, the humans were gaining ground, slowly but surely pushing back the alien force. But the aliens were relentless. Their AI systems analyzed each human move, calculating every possible counterattack. The aliens adapted quickly, adjusting their tactics as they learned more about human ingenuity. Bonner's team was starting to feel the weight of the battle. The odds were against them, but they didn't have a choice. They had to keep fighting. They had no other option but to use every last ounce of strength, skill, and creativity they had to stop the alien fleet. As the battle raged on, Bonner's thoughts turned to his fallen comrades, to Sergeant Davis, who had died fighting the same battle. He could feel the weight of the sacrifice on his shoulders, but he refused to give in. He had promised Davis that he would lead humanity to victory. And now, in this moment, he was ready to keep that promise. The fight escalated. The alien fleet, now on full offensive, unleashed their most powerful weapons yet, massive drones, equipped with energy shields and devastating laser cannons. The drones soared through the sky, dodging fire from Earth's resistance forces as they launched relentless attacks. Bonner and his team fought fiercely, but they knew that they couldn't hold the line forever. Their resources were running low, and the alien fleet was vast and powerful. They needed something drastic, something to turn the tide once and for all. Bonner had a plan. It was a last-ditch effort, a final gamble. The alien flagship, a massive vessel at the heart of the invasion force, had been coordinating the AI fleet's movements. If it could be destroyed, it would break the aliens' command structure and give humanity a fighting chance. The only problem was that Bonner and his team were out of time. The flagship was heavily protected by a swarm of AI-controlled drones, each more advanced than the last. But Bonner didn't hesitate. He knew the risks, but he also knew that this was the only way to win. With the rest of his squad covering him, Bonner maneuvered his jet towards the alien flagship. The ship loomed large on the horizon, its surface gleaming like a metal titan. As Bonner approached, he deployed a makeshift weapon, an explosive device crafted from scrap metal and high-powered explosives, something no one had ever thought would work against such advanced technology. The device was rigged to explode on impact, and Bonner's plan was simple: fly straight into the heart of the flagship, detonating the weapon and taking down the command center in one final blow. But as Bonner made his approach, the alien drones swarmed, surrounding him from every angle. His fighter jet took hits, and the cockpit was filled with sparks and smoke. He could feel the heat of the explosions, but he didn't falter. His mind was clear. This was his moment. The final moments of the battle were a blur. Bonner's jet crashed into the flagship, and the explosion rocked the sky. The shockwave sent a wave of energy rippling across the battlefield, disabling the alien fleet's communications and destroying the flagship. In that single, catastrophic moment, humanity had won. But the victory came at a great cost. As the dust settled and the alien fleet began to disband, Bonner's sacrifice was felt across the world. The skies, once darkened by the alien ships, began to clear. The Earth, bruised and battered, stood victorious. Humanity had faced an existential threat and had emerged stronger, united by their creativity and resilience. Bonner didn't survive the blast. His final moments were spent knowing that Earth would live on, that humanity had won. His sacrifice had secured their future. As the camera pulled away from the wreckage of the alien flagship, a quiet sense of pride filled the air. Humanity had proven that no matter how advanced the enemy, no matter how powerful the technology, human determination and ingenuity could overcome it all. And now, the Earth was free. The battle had been long, hard, and devastating. When the last of the alien ships finally retreated into the cold void of space, humanity had won, but at an incredible cost. Earth's cities, once teeming with life, were now scared by the remnants of destruction. The ground still smoldered where orbital bombardments had hit, and in the streets, the signs of a war that should never have been fought were still fresh. But the battle was over. The alien threat had been vanquished, and the Earth was free. Yet, freedom came with a heavy price. Humanity had lost many brave souls in the conflict: soldiers, civilians, and heroes who had given everything to protect their world. Among them was Captain Bonner, whose name would forever be etched into the hearts of his comrades in the history of Earth. He had made the ultimate sacrifice, taking down the alien flagship and ensuring the survival of humanity. In the wake of his death, his comrades, his family, and the entire planet mourned. Bonner's funeral was a solemn occasion, with people from every corner of Earth gathering to pay their respects. The skies, once filled with the looming threat of alien invaders, were now clear, yet the weight of his sacrifice hung heavy over the planet. His name was spoken with reverence, and his image, a symbol of humanity's resilience, was immortalized in statues and monuments across the world. Bonner had given his life for humanity's future, and his sacrifice would not be forgotten. In the days that followed, the survivors of Bonner's team, his closest friends and comrades, gathered at his gravesite. Sergeant Davis, who had been critically injured in the earlier battles, was there too, now fully recovered, though still carrying the scars of their fight. The others stood in silence, each of them feeling the absence of the man who had led them through the darkest days of Earth's history. They remembered the battles they had fought together, the impossible odds they had faced, and the makeshift weapons they had used to turn the tide. They had been the underdogs, outmatched and outgunned, yet they had prevailed. It was their resourcefulness, their unyielding will to survive, and their bond as soldiers that had carried them through. It was this bond that now held them together as they stood by Bonner's grave, their promise to him lingering in the air. "We owe him everything," Sergeant Davis said, his voice thick with emotion. "This victory, it was his. He gave us the chance to save Earth." The others nodded, each of them silently agreeing. They had all seen the same thing. Bonner had led with courage and with heart. He had been more than just a commander. He had been their brother. And now it was their turn to honor his legacy. "We'll rebuild," Captain Parker, another member of the team, said firmly. "We'll make sure humanity not only survives but thrives. Bonner's sacrifice won't be in vain." The others nodded in agreement, their faces hardening with determination. They knew the road ahead would be long, and it would take time to heal the scars of war. But they also knew that humanity had already proven something far more important, that even in the face of impossible odds, even when the enemy was stronger, smarter, and more advanced, humanity's resilience, creativity, and sheer will to survive would always triumph. As the team stood there, a panoramic view of Earth's cities stretching out before them, they saw a world in the process of healing. The rubble of destroyed buildings was being cleared, and new structures were rising from the ashes. The technology of the alien invaders, once a source of fear, was now being studied and integrated into human society. The survivors were working tirelessly to rebuild their homes, their nations, and their lives. In the distance, workers labored to restore the power grids, while scientists and engineers analyzed the alien technology they had captured during the conflict. The weapons they had used against the invaders, improvised tools turned into deadly instruments, were now being used as the basis for new technologies. Humans, once thought weak by the invaders, had taken the tools of war and transformed them into the foundation of a new, stronger future. Bonner's team had seen the worst of what humanity could face, but they had also witnessed the best. The unity of Earth's people, the strength of their resolve, and the ingenuity that had turned the tide of battle were now the cornerstones upon which the future would be built. And in the midst of this rebuilding, the image of Bonner, standing tall in the memories of his comrades, never faded. He had been the symbol of what humanity could achieve when pushed to its limits, and as his friends made their way back to their respective posts, they knew that they had a duty to honor him, not just by remembering him, but by carrying on his legacy. The future was uncertain, and new challenges awaited, but humanity had already proven that it could overcome the impossible. Earth was no longer just a small, insignificant planet in the galaxy. The humans had shown the galaxy what they were capable of, and though they had faced extinction at the hands of a technologically superior enemy, they had emerged victorious. They had stood tall, fought back, and survived. One of the team members, Lieutenant Thompson, looked out across the horizon, his eyes scanning the stars. The war with the aliens was over, but the universe was vast, and there were other challenges out there. "This isn't the end," he said, his voice filled with quiet resolve. "It's just the beginning." As he spoke, the others gathered around him, each of them looking up at the stars, their eyes filled with hope. The battle was over, but the story of humanity's resilience would continue. They had fought with nothing more than their determination, and now, as they looked toward the future, they knew they had the strength to face whatever came next. In the distance, the faint silhouette of a spaceship could be seen entering the atmosphere. Earth was no longer a planet on the defensive. The survivors knew that they had earned their place in the galaxy, and they would be ready for whatever challenges the future might bring. With the strength of their unity, the creativity that had carried them through the war, and the legacy of heroes like Bonner, humanity would rise again. And as Earth rebuilt, one city at a time, the world would remember. No matter how advanced the enemy, no matter how dire the situation, humanity would always fight, and humanity would always win. The war had ended, but the journey was far from over. The alien threat that had once loomed over Earth was now a thing of the past. The skies, once darkened by the smoke of destruction and filled with the shrill cries of alien ships, were now clear. The air was fresh, the cities were beginning to rebuild, and the survivors who had once trembled at the thought of an alien invasion were now looking to the future with determination. Humanity, once viewed by the galactic community as weak, had proven to the universe that it could not only survive, but thrive against insurmountable odds. The Galactic Union, the mighty eye-controlled fleet that had sought to annihilate Earth, was now defeated. The ships that had once struck terror into the hearts of every human were now just debris floating in space. The galaxy had witnessed the unrelenting resilience of humanity, and the power of creativity, courage, and unity had made Earth a force to be reckoned with. In the aftermath of the war, there was no time to rest. The scars of the conflict were still visible, and while the immediate threat was gone, the reality of the new world humanity now inhabited began to set in. Earth had been changed forever, not just by the invasion, but by the way its people had risen to the occasion. The once fragmented nations had come together in the face of a common enemy, and now they worked side by side to rebuild. In the ruins of the old cities, new buildings were rising. New technologies were being developed, many of them inspired by the alien technology left behind. The streets, once filled with the echoes of war, were now full of the sound of construction and hope. The human race had proven itself capable of great things, and they were not about to stop. The war had shown them that, no matter how powerful an enemy might seem, they had the will, the ingenuity, and the heart to overcome it. The most important lesson learned was one that would be passed down through the generations. Never underestimate humanity's ability to adapt, fight, and survive. But Earth's victory over the alien invaders was just the beginning. With the destruction of the Galactic Union's eye-controlled fleet, many believed that peace had been restored. Yet the universe was vast, and the power of the Galactic Union was not the only force out there. Other galactic races, some more advanced than the AI, still existed. Earth had made a powerful enemy, and though they had defeated one fleet, the remnants of the Galactic Union had allies in high places. As the Earth began its process of healing, humanity couldn't shake the feeling that other challenges were on the horizon. The final scenes of the battle were still fresh in everyone's minds. Bonner, the man who had sacrificed everything to ensure humanity's victory, remained the symbol of the unbreakable spirit of Earth. His story was now a legend, passed down to every corner of the world. His final words, "Humanity will always find a way," echoed in the hearts of those who had fought beside him, and in the hearts of those who had heard his tale. Bonner's legacy was now a lesson, one that reminded every human that no matter what came their way, they could always find a way to prevail. As Earth's cities began to come back to life, humanity began to prepare for the challenges ahead. The greatest minds of the world, scientists, engineers, military leaders, and civilians alike, worked together, combining their knowledge and their courage to prepare Earth for any new threats. They studied the technology left behind by the aliens, learning from it, adapting it, and using it to make their own technology even more powerful. But they didn't stop there. They also turned their eyes to the stars, watching, waiting for any sign of the next challenge. The fight against the Galactic Union's fleet was over, but the war for Earth's survival had only just begun. There were whispers of alien races watching Earth from afar, intrigued by the humans who had bested the AI fleet. Some of these races had been allies of the Galactic Union, while others had been enemies, but all of them were now keeping a close eye on Earth. The victory against the AI fleet had sent ripples through the galaxy. Earth had been underestimated, but no longer. The galaxy knew now that humanity was a force to be reckoned with, and no one knew what that might mean in the future. As the camera zoomed out from Earth, the planet now looking vibrant and full of life, it was impossible to ignore the feeling that Earth had changed forever. The damage had been done, but the repairs were underway, And with each passing day, the human spirit grew stronger. The scars of the past would always be there, but they were now a reminder of what humanity had overcome. Earth was no longer a weak planet, and the universe now saw it for what it truly was, a force that would fight for its survival and its place in the cosmos. The final scene was a panoramic view of the Earth. The camera zoomed out, showing the planet as a bright, shining beacon in the galaxy, surrounded by the darkness of space. The stars twinkled in the background, and the camera lingered for a moment on the planet before fading to black. The voiceover echoed Bonner's last words, "Humanity will always find a way." As the credits began to roll, the audience was left with a sense of hope and anticipation. Earth had survived, but what would the future hold? The war had been won, but the universe was vast, and new battles were sure to come. Would humanity continue to rise to the challenges ahead? Would Earth be able to fend off the next alien threat? The possibility of new battles, new enemies, and new victories lingered in the air. The end of this story was just the beginning of a new chapter for humanity. And as the screen faded to black, one thing was certain. Humanity had proven that no matter how dark the future seemed, no matter how powerful the enemies, they would always find a way. The fight was far from over, but the human race had already shown that it would never give up, never back down, and always stand tall in the face of adversity. The stars may have seemed far away, but for humanity, they were now within reach. The galaxy had better be prepared, because humanity was coming.